Đây là bài và link nguyên gốc từ BBC quốc tế. Các bạn có thể là sử dụng
Imagine a
cái
world
phần
where all
dịch
your
thuật
personal debt was going to
chủ
be
đề trên
cancelled.
YouTube để xem cái
What would
phần
you
này
do?
có nói gì về Nezara.
Maybe rack up a huge credit card bill on a big shopping trip? After all, you wouldn't have to pay it back. And what if every currency was about to be revalued to make them all worth exactly the same as each other? Previously worthless banknotes might now make you rich. It all sounds very improbable, but the idea that those things are going to happen very soon has not only taken off, it's the centrepiece of a conspiracy theory that has people making real-life financial decisions off the back of it. It's breaking up families and ruining lives. So where did the so-called Nezara conspiracy theory come from, and why are people drawn to it?
Listen, money talks, get money, dirty cash, I want you, dirty cash, I need you.
This is BBC Trending, where we take an investigative look at the world of social media. I'm Jonathan Griffin, and joining me today is Cheyenne Sardizarida, who's been looking into this along with Olga Robinson. And Cheyenne, you're going to help us navigate through the bizarre world of Nezara.
Hi, Jonathan.
Now, Cheyenne, this is a story that gets more and more peculiar the more you look at it.
That's right. Some of the things we'll touch upon may sound far-fetched, but this conspiracy is having real-life implications. It's hard to quantify a figure on exactly how far this has spread, but it's affected tens of thousands of people, as well as their friends and families.
It's been really interesting and also horrifying because every day they mention something new. It's like a pit drops in my stomach because it feels like I can tell that they have gone just that much further down the rabbit hole from where they used to be.
Meet Abby. It's not her real name, it's one we've given her because she wants to remain anonymous. She's an American in her 30s, and like many millennials, Abby doesn't see the world the same way as her parents do.
That's right. Abby's parents are such keen Donald Trump supporters that they refuse to acknowledge Joe Biden as the current US president. They also believe QAnon, the completely unfounded belief that Trump is waging a secret war against elite Satan-worshipping pedophiles. And Abby's parents are also anti-vaxxers. So much so that Abby still hasn't told them that she's had a COVID jab in order to try and keep the peace.
But despite their differences, Abby says that until very recently, she and her parents were all on the same page when it came to finance.
My parents are pretty cautious with money and they've made good decisions for most of their lives with it.
But earlier this year, all that changed.
Sometime between January and March, my parents started making references to things that they were doing financially because the whole system was going to be reset and debt was going to be wiped away.
Abby's parents had become believers in Nezara, a conspiracy theory that has lingered around the fringes of the internet for decades. It predicts nothing less than a massive reset of the whole economic system.
They told me in April of this year the whole system was going to be reset and we were suddenly all going to become richer and our debt was going to be reset. And so I should start making decisions with my money, like purposefully go into debt so that I would get free things. And I said, absolutely not.
If that all sounds too good to be true, that's because it is. There's no truth in any of this. But that's not stopping Abby's parents, who are pumping their retirement money into schemes that they believe will make them rich when Nezara happens.
They were making those decisions based on the assumption that our current economic system was going to fail or be changed. It was alarming when they told me how much money they'd spent on gold and silver. Thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars.
The reason that they started buying so much gold and silver is because Nezara claims that when this massive economic reset happens, the value of the currency will be underpinned by gold and silver. Abby's parents aren't the only ones who are making drastic decisions based on their belief in Nezara. We've heard about people not paying their taxes or racking up huge credit card bills because they believe everybody's personal debts are going to be cancelled.
So let's strip all this right back, Cheyenne. Where does Nezara come from?
Well, buckle yourself in. The story's going to get even crazier. It all starts in the late 1980s and early 1990s when a bloke in the US called Harvey Francis Barnard was studying for his doctorate. As part of one of his papers, he proposed a set of economic reforms centered around ideas such as consumer debt forgiveness, abolishing income tax, and a radical overhaul of the monetary system. Barnard believed that debt was the largest inhibitor to US economic growth. In 1996, he put his ideas in a self-published book called Draining the Swamp: Monetary and Fiscal Policy Reform.
Draining the swamp. That's one of Donald Trump's catchphrases.
Yes, although Barnard's use of it predated Trump's political career by many years. But it has helped Barnard's ideas to be seized upon by many Trump supporters and others on the right.
So who was Barnard hoping would read this book then?
Well, Barnard hoped it would persuade the US Congress to pass legislation to replace income tax with a national sales tax and abolish compound interest on secured loans. He called his ideas the National Economic Security and Recovery Act, or NESARA.
I was wondering when we were going to get to that.
Barnard's proposals were basically ignored, so he put them online, and that's where they really began to mutate.
Yes, they were picked up by a cyber cult queen by the name of Shani Candice Goodwin, also known as the Dove of Oneness.
I have dedicated my life to this. I have given up social, family, personal interests to do NESARA. I do NESARA 7 days a week.
That's her speaking at a NESARA event in Los Angeles in 2005. Now, Goodwin was a bizarre character to say the least. Before she became a promoter of NESARA, she was loosely involved in a sham investment scheme that defrauded 10,000 people out of at least $12.5 million. She'd also filed for bankruptcy and was living in a mobile home with her mother when she started to gather followers online. Despite that, she claimed to have highly placed sources among leaders of government and high finance.
Goodwin claims the NESARA Act that would cancel all debt had actually already been secretly passed into law by President Bill Clinton in March 2000. By the way, all complete nonsense.
Then she came out with another, even more outlandish story after the September 11 terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center and Pentagon in 2001. Within hours, Goodwin not only falsely claimed that the attacks were orchestrated by then-President George W. Bush, she also said that the reason he had done it was to somehow prevent NESARA being implemented.
A woman who worked at the Pentagon was told on September 10, don't come to work tomorrow. Her office was right where it blew up. And she then saw, and her boss said, don't come to work tomorrow, and whatever you do, don't go to the World Trade Center in New York.
So basically, she was spreading a totally false message that evil powers that be were doing the unthinkable to make sure debt cancellation never reached the ordinary American.
Yes, and her legion of online followers lapped it up. Goodwin and her supporters lobbied Congress, the US Supreme Court, and even the Pentagon, calling for them to intervene to bring NESARA about.
But a military coup is a banana republic action. It's not American. We have a law that's been passed that we just need to fix and get announced. So what I did is I put together a great deal of information, and this is one of the NESARA intelligence reports, as I call them, that I sent out to hundreds of U.S. military officers, to every office head of the FBI in the U.S., and to people in the CIA and the NSA.
Now, it's worth saying that Harvey Francis Barnard, the creator of NESARA, wanted nothing to do with the Frankenstein's monster his ideas had become. He wrote, if you believe any of that, you might as well start looking for oceanfront property in Nebraska. The point being that Nebraska is a landlocked state.
But until her death in 2010, Goodwin continued to push the conspiracy theory relentlessly, raising money from her followers to finance her campaign to lobby for NESARA.
Things went quiet for a few years, but when the pandemic arrived and changed all of our lives, the NESARA conspiracy theory took on a new life online.
I've been tracking it for months. You can find NESARA in all sorts of places, on Facebook pages for UFOs and New Age mystics. There are posts about it in numerous languages. But it's also become particularly bundled up with QAnon beliefs. People who think NESARA will happen alongside what's referred to as the storm, when Trump supposedly takes down the evil pedophiles.
Among some believers, it's taken on almost religious dimensions, like it's part of a prophecy. This is from a video by Charlie Ward, a British QAnon promoter who believes the coming of Nazara is imminent.
For those people who followed me from the start, you'll know that 14, 15 months ago, I did a video with Jack Kidd explaining about Jasara, or Jasara, whatever you want to call it, or Nasara, the new financial system that we're moving into. We're getting very, very close to this transition from darkness into light, from the control of evil to the control of God. We're moving into this is the Great Awakening, this new world. For those who see, this is a war of the mind against good and evil. So which side are you on?
We approached Ward for comment, but he did not respond. So why has Nazara taken off again recently? I spoke to author and journalist Mike Rothschild.
The pandemic has been an enormous driver of conspiracy theories in general. And it's not surprising because you had the entire world sent indoors on lockdown because of a virus that was brand new. Anything like that happens is going to be a petri dish for conspiracy theories. And when people go online looking for answers, one of the things that they find are things that have been around for a long time. So people went looking for reasons why this was all going on, and they found Nasara, they found the dinar, they found these financial scams that have been around for decades, and they thought, oh, that's interesting. That's a big world-changing event. That sounds like what's going on now. There's these people who seem like they know what's going on. I should listen to those people. Nobody wants to feel like they're left out or like they don't know what's happening.
Mike mentioned the dinar there.
This brings us to another aspect of Nazara beliefs that has taken off again recently. Followers of Nazara and QAnon are very prone to interpreting quite mundane events as something with huge hidden significance. And that was the case at a press conference in February 2017 when then President Trump was asked a question about devaluations of the Chinese currency.
As far as the currency devaluations, I've been complaining about that for a long time. And I believe that we will all eventually, and probably very much sooner than a lot of people understand or think, we will be all at a level playing field. Because that's the only way it's fair.
Now, we know that Donald Trump had a habit of speaking off the cuff at times. But for followers of Nazara, those comments were seized on as being the absolute proof that they needed that Jazara, that's the same as Nazara but global, was going to come into play.
Not only that, but that there would also be an equally seismic revaluation of all of the world's currencies. The level playing field Trump talked about was interpreted as meaning that 1 unit of one currency would be worth almost the same as 1 unit of any other previously less valuable currency. So the Nazara faithful started buying up thousands of Iraqi dinars, thinking that those dinars would soon be worth the same as the US dollar, meaning that they would be catapulted into becoming US millionaires.
Of course, there's no indication that something like that would ever happen. But the buying up of struggling foreign currencies is happening on a really widespread scale. In fact, I've been keeping an eye on a Nazara online shop, which is selling supplies of Iraqi dinar, Vietnamese dong, or Zimbabwean dollar to speculative buyers. Right now, they're selling a stash of 100,000 Iraqi dinars for $416, while in real terms, it's only worth $68 at the moment.
I'm gonna blame the YouTube algorithm at this point, as unfortunately my ma has a very conspiratorial mindset. She was an early adopter of QAnon, so I've got that I'm kind of dealing with as well. A lot of her main source for QAnon information was the YouTube algorithm, because she used to watch YouTube all the time.
Jackie is an American in her 30s. That's not her real name or voice, as she wants to remain anonymous. She lives with her mum, who she says in the last decade has started to get into conspiracy theories.
Jackie's mum hasn't had an easy life. She's also quite religious. So the idea that she might come into a fortune through some divinely ordained currency is very appealing to her.
It comes from her evangelical faith. She said, everything that has been stolen from me throughout my life, I have to have hope that I'm going to get it back. So she sees the reevaluation of the Iraqi dinar as God's way of giving back to her what the devil stole.
So in a way, it sounds like Jackie's mum is putting all of her chips on this Nizara plan actually happening.
Very much so. And Jackie says her mum's put at least $10,000 into Nizara. That's huge for somebody who was already struggling financially.
Because it's her money, I realize there's not a whole lot that I can do, but for her sake, I wish she wasn't wasting it. But I think the thing that kind of bothered me about her purchase of the Iraqi dinar, especially in hindsight, is she actually encouraged a few elderly ladies at her church to purchase dinars as well. So I know one lady purchased a few $1,000s worth of it as well, so in retrospect, I just hate to see these ladies scammed out of their money like that.
So what we've got here is often vulnerable people making horrific decisions based on a complex conspiracy theory that predicts a financial never-never land. If you're the friend or relative of someone who has fallen under the spell of Nizara, is there anything you can do to help them?
Well, my colleague Olga Robinson put just that question to Dr. Susanna Crockford. She's an anthropologist who has done a lot of research about how New Age spirituality crosses over with conspiracy theories. Her feeling is that trying to talk around people who believe in conspiracy theories is unlikely to work.
So if reasoning with good information isn't likely to work, does she have any advice for what could work if a loved one goes down the Nizara rabbit hole?
In your personal life, just try and maintain the relationship. Don't try and talk about the thing you're disagreeing with that person about. Try and maintain the relationship, because then they don't become isolated. Because if people are more isolated from their social relations, they are more likely to then do something risky, dangerous, seditious, right? Suddenly you'll see them storming the Capitol. So try and just maintain the relationship however you can, and so that they can come back when they're ready.
Ultimately, what Susanna says is that the only way you can protect people from things like the Nizara conspiracy theory is to improve financial service regulation, social security nets, and healthcare, so people are more financially protected. Then they are less likely to look for a quick fix solution to their problems. She also points out that conspiracy theories like Nizara are popular with those who have no faith in the institutions that create the infrastructure of society.
I didn't realize I had a lot of trust and faith in these authorities until I met people who really had none. But you have to invest in your institutions, and you have to try and make your institutions work fairly and not favoring certain groups over other groups, because that's how you create this situation of distrust. And if you've got this whole section of your population which just basically thinks you're all evil aliens, that system's going to stop working. So yeah, those are my recommendations. There are not quick fixes.
That's it this week for BBC Trending. Thanks to Cheyenne Sardizuride, Olga Robinson, and our editor, Ed Main. If you want to message Trending with your thoughts on this, or any of our other episodes, then you can email me. It's jonathan.griffin@bbc.co.uk. Thank you for listening. Now here's a brand new podcast from the BBC World Service.
Real-life officers have been charged with abusing their badges, of being corrupt to the core.
Who can you trust when cops become robbers?
If you're a drug dealer and you have 2 prior drug convictions, and the police come and take your money and rob you, is anyone going to believe you?
While some in the justice system know that something's rotten in Baltimore,
and you hear the same story time after time, you know what? Where there's smoke is eventually going to be fire.
that's not enough to deter rogue cops from running amok.
It broke my jaw. He left me on the ground for dead. Bad things happen to people that see things.
Bad Cops from the BBC World Service.
We are no longer looking at a couple guys that are associates of a drug conspiracy. We have a whole other set of conduct that's going on.
Search for Bad Cops wherever you get your podcasts.